Hi everyone, thanks for joining, and I'd like to thank Aligns.AI for organizing this event. I'm Sherwin, and I'm the creative AI Song Maker, and I'm speaking to you from a little country called New Zealand, located down at the bottom of the world. So today, I'll be speaking to you about my journey making AI Song Maker, some of the lessons I learned, and what I'm looking forward to with the GPT store. So why did I create the AI Song Maker? I think it started with my interest with trying to learn how ChatGPT works. I was really amazed by its outputs when it first was released to the public, and that got me learning about large language models and conducting a few experiments to really understand its capabilities. I have a few other projects that I'm working on with large language models and concepts such as RAG. I also really like researching about the latest advancements in AI, and that made me come across the GPT store, and I thought it would be a great avenue to get noticed in the AI community. And that's what got me creating the AI Song Maker and other GPTs. So then going on to creating your own GPT, one of the first things I did was testing the waters. I created a few GPTs and I started posting them on social media. You also have to get a bit creative with trying to get your GPT seen in the early days. Before the GPT store existed, there were third-party GPT stores, and I found by registering my GPTs over there, I got a few views from that. And this sort of gave me a feel for which GPTs worked well and which GPTs didn't really work well. I also realized that I needed to tweak the keywords in my title and description, as these are the keywords that will eventually get your GPT found in the GPT store as well as search engines like Google. And finally, I think the biggest thing that differentiates AI Song Maker is how it uses open source Python libraries. And I'd like to go through a quick example to show you how AI Song Maker does this, and hopefully that could give you some ideas on how you could incorporate this as well. So in this example, I asked AI Song Maker to create me a soundtrack from an image. The first answer was quite the usual GPT-4 styled answer. And then if you look down to the bottom right, it created me a music track. You can download that music track and play it in a MIDI compatible media player. And here's how it would sound like. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I've also seen a few other GPTs incorporating open source libraries. And I encourage you to check out the GPT store and do some research on this. Furthermore, you can converse with the GPT and improve on the existing piece. This time I asked it to add background instruments, and I downloaded the music XML file, which can be used to produce sheet music like the image on the right. And here's how it sounds with the sheet music with the background instruments. So you can keep on having a conversation with AI Song Maker and improve on your creation. For example, you can ask it to add some lyrics like so. So yeah, I encourage you to incorporate another cool Python library into your own GPT creation to enhance its capabilities. So some of my tips for integrating these Python libraries and using Code Interpreter is that you quickly find that, Code Interpreter will be quite inconsistent, and some of the times it would work really well, and some of the times you'd end up with getting errors like in the image on the top right. And this is something you want to minimize, given that your GPT could be potentially used by hundreds of users. One way I found how to prevent this from happening was to create a helper function. And I'll go through that in my next slide. So what's a helper function? It's just you create your own Python function call and that's responsible for calling all the underlying Python libraries that will do your task. So in my case, my helper function would call the Music21 Python library, which would produce the soundtrack and sheet music files you saw in my example. You want to provide a one-shot example similar to the image on the right. This really helps ChatGPT get the structure right, and ChatGPT is pretty good with that. Thirdly, you can use the helper function to print out some warning messages. So when ChatGPT formats the inputs a little bit incorrectly, you print out a warning message, and it usually fixes it in the next response. So a little bit about my development process. I prefer to use a beta test version to test out new features in my GPT. The advantage of using a beta test version over just making changes inside the editor is that you can save the chat history for your GPT tests, and that's quite useful to come back and see how you're improving. Also, the beta test version can have slightly different keywords in the title and description, and this should lead to increased searchability in both the GPT store and possibly Google as well. And thirdly, I recommend turning on user feedback. This just gives the users the opportunity to tell you what they like and don't like. So what I'm most excited about is this new GPT at GPT feature. I think it provides another avenue to get your GPT seen, as well as collaborating and providing more value for your user. So yeah, I think it's a good addition, and I'm keen to incorporate this into my own GPTs. Furthermore, I think that there are a lot of cool open source Python libraries out there that would work really well in the ChatGPT code interpreter sandbox. They can produce some quite interesting outputs, like we saw the Music21 library producing the soundtrack files. I'm quite keen to work with OpenAI to improve the way GPT creators can integrate these Python libraries into their own GPT. And I'm sure there'll be a few successful GPTs this year that use this recipe. I hope you enjoyed the presentation and you learned a thing or two, and feel free to follow or connect with me on social media. Thanks.